And a lot of my story comes out of that. You okay there? Oh, good, okay. So, Leprechaun funding comes out of a very simple idea. I had a Leprechaun account. I'll talk more about that a little bit later. But the idea is that we all have these wishes and dreams and hopes of things to do, what we want to do. And everybody says, oh, you need so much financing. You always talk about, oh, it's going to take millions of dollars, or hundreds of thousands, or tens of thousands. Or it might even just take $100 bill that you just don't have. And so today's world has opened up the idea of finding that pot of gold based on your actions, based on very simple things. And so, for me, the story for me to really, I've always done this, and I'm going to talk about real practical ways. And I want you guys to think about things that you want to raise money for. I give you really practical answers. Not that this isn't just high in the sky. But it started with me as I had an encounter with the Fae. Starwood, 2019, July. And I went and took sacrament. I was really super depressed. I just lost my business. The city of Chicago just bulldozed my my worm and composting fields. Made national news. Oh yeah, it was a big story. And I went off to Starwood to lick my wounds. My friend sent me. And so they said, have therapy. And I was really upset. And I went into the woods after taking sacrament. And I encountered a being, very muscular, male, very male, tall, and a female entity that looks very much like a tree, like a willow, or a reversed willow. It was very beautiful. And people have asked me about that. But in the process, it says, you're making too much. I was just sobbing. I broke it. And I stopped and he says, I don't like how many people out there. He says, stop it. I go, I will if I can. He says, well, I can stop it for you. And he goes, okay. He says, I'll just kill you. And I didn't realize how close to death I was at that moment because I was just standing in a really weird position. And he goes like this, well, here, once we talked about it. And eventually he pulled out my eyes and cleaned them in the story. So we were talking. And by the time my eyes were being cleaned, I thought, oh my God, I just did something to myself. I'm in the middle of this whole thing. I just blinded myself somehow. And then my eyes were put back in my head and they whispered things about the world. And he told me the world was going to stop. They weren't going to be on the land next year. They were like, okay. 2019, who knew, right? But it was that. And he said, and when you come back, the world is going to change. The world is going to change hard. And, okay, fine. But I will not be your messenger. I don't care. I'm tired of PNGs, personal gnosis, UPGs, unverified personal gnosis. You go, okay, so my eyes were returned to me. And the next morning, I woke up. I came out of my tent and the trees looked so odd to me. And they said, oh wow, that looks like they're green. They described to me green. And all that day I started really noticing the colors. Well, I've been double. The fact is I was double colorblind, medically proven. Kicked out of the military's gunner space program, put into being a yeoman because I was double colorblind. As soon as I came out of that place, I had my eyes cleaned up, verified, and now I have full color vision. Yeah, so whatever else happened there, it did. So for me, the leprechauns came in, and I had a dream of the leprechaun, really like an astral trip. He was like that. And he took me around to the various wells, and he had a wheelbarrow full of candy and toys and things of that nature, and he would trade it to the fairies in this dream, and they would hand him all the coins. Yeah. They went to a bank, and of course my dream state made it into a Hogwarts bank, so of course it was the goblins. And they took all the coins and sent me right back, and they brought him 2 gold coins. And he goes, that's how you do it, assets. And he taught me something that's been very important. I've got pictures of it all over the world. So the very first thing he taught me, and I don't have one actually out today, is that put a coin collector out and enchant it. Put a lucky penny in it, and do it. And put out, for any idea you've got, put out a coin collector. Even if it's, a jar, a bowl, and putting your coins in. People hate coins. They despise them. That's why you see why these spirits inhabit fountains and wells and all sorts of places, because people are willing to exchange the coins in their pocket for a little bit of hope. That's the way all of those coin aspects are. I'm going to donate a little bit of money to a charity to help hopefully help someone out. I'm going to give a little bit of coins, which I really don't want in my pocket, and I'm glad to get rid of them, for a wish, for a dream. You have a little that. And so I tested this out, and the young lady, she's cute, Bridget, she's about 9 years old, 10 years old, now she's 10, but she was 9 when she first did. She's doing that. And she built a little well, and she put it there, and she put it out. And she put it out where in public, and said, make a wish, put a coin on her front porch. She came back to me the next week and said, I made $30 that way. Right? And she didn't believe it. Nobody believed it. She goes, yeah, no. So she counted all the coins. She made $30. It was nothing but a wishing well and a hope and a dream. So if you're open to receiving money, don't be, the first rule of the Leprechaun, don't ignore what the money is. It could be coins. How many people hate coins? There's a person who just turned in $20,000 worth of coins that they've been collecting all their lives, putting in jars. You don't know how much money you're losing by losing the coins. But the actual fundamental is, the well is out there to give a little bit of hope, a little bit of a dream, and then allow you to come in to bring you that money. So never doubt the passing of the well. Never doubt that. But let's take it up to one more step up. So what does that mean? He took those coins, turned them into, he gave people what they wanted, their wish, their energy, the fairies. He gave them their candy that they want, really bad. If you ever heard Byron Bandit, they don't really like milk, cookies and milk. They like peanuts, like circus peanuts, and really awful candy that doesn't exist in their world. If you ever get to see Byron Ballard's whole statement about feeding the fae and the land spirits, it's a lovely piece. But in there is the idea that you do feed them, but these treasures sit there. And you'll see them in temples, too, in other places, where you see in the corners a huge stack of coins. Down in New Orleans, the Voodoo Room, which literally has tens of thousands of dollars people have donated, inches of room. And it exists there, just more than $10,000 worth of wish money around voodoo idols in the Voodoo Museum of New Orleans. That's all represents wishes and hopes. So while we have these wishes and hopes, so do other people. They want to share in them with you. So today, we have all sorts of ways of collecting money for free. Right? So you have to decide where your projects are, what you want to do. This month is Witch Starter on Kickstarter. So people, for nothing, for no cost other than the labor, the time, and the energy, and that's not that, you can go on a place called Kickstarter, decide your project, decide how much it's going to cost you, and then you can go ask the public for that money. Right? Same thing. You got a wishing well. You got a pot of gold. They will want to buy that pot of gold. And we just finished last year a $15,000 tarot deck. The parts of the tarot deck that we're building called the Infinite Tarot is on our table. We're about to do that again. So we're going to go to our public and do so. So leprechauns love coins, found money. Right? And what's found money? Money that does not have a purpose. We've got tons of money that has no purpose in our community. It sits in the bottom of our pockets. It sits in the bottom of our activities. We hear about it all the time. Like soap, the biggest one for me is soap. How many people here use soap? Everybody, right? We have soap makers in our community. Throughout our community, every community has soap makers. But yet we only see them on Pagan Pride and high-priced bars of soap. Why are we not buying from our own community? This is one of the secrets of the Masonic communities, the Jewish communities, the Amish communities. All of these communities do a certain amount of shopping for lifestyle tools in their own community. Right? And since we're all going to buy soap anyway, it's not spending more money, it's reallocating that money to your local community and getting them more value. And it's also on the soap makers that kind of talk to you about what type of soap would you use on a daily basis and get it into that affordable range. And I've talked to this about soap makers a lot, is to get into the affordable range. And then today we have this amazing thing called PayPal and a dozen other systems, Shopify and all the others. PayPal is just signing up. I mean, it costs you to have a bank account and that sort of thing. But if you get it, it's this little button you can put on somewhere. It's a subscription. And you can create anything into a subscription box, and everybody loves a subscription box. So the soap maker could make a subscription box to meet your needs and send it to you every month. And that money would come to them first. That's the little thing, and then they would have their capital. Because what you need for business is capital, right? There's peer-to-peer loans. There's all sorts of things. But right now, you need to have your idea, your pot of gold. Where is it all going to come into? What are you going to give back out? Because the leprechauns don't take the money for free. They earn it. They find it. They steal it. They do all sorts of things. They trick you out of it. Right? I mean, they're not, people say, oh, they're not the nicest spirits. Go, no, they're very honest. They're very straightforward. And they are embedded in our capitalistic society. What somebody told me is that they don't really collect coins. They collect the interaction energy that happens. And the more that they can absorb that energy, the more that they're going to deal with that. And they want to attract that. Money attracts money. Money loves it to each other. So if you start a pile of coins into one section, the more that coin piles up, the deeper that fountain looks like with coins. When you see a fountain with the coins, don't you feel tempted to throw your coins in? Right? And it's hard to resist, right? So knowing that a pile of coins and a successful project and having a lot of items and having soaps and in this case soap or trinkets all attract people. And then you just got to make the exchange worthwhile. And that's where people often fail. They're often too reluctant to tell them the truth of what they need the money for. Because they're going to say, well, why should I help you? Make it worth their while. My big project, what I'm going to do Leprechaun funding, is that in a day or two, it's supposed to be today, but because of the things, we're going to be launching Pagan World TV, where you can buy swag off a Kickstarter campaign to help us. And I'm really looking to raise $50,000. $50,000, that's a lot of money. It is from any one community, but I'm hoping to spread it out across the United States and around the world, and get people to give me small amounts of money. This is the trick of the trade. You could be a big-time dealer for anything. And if you're a good salesperson and have a good product, you're going to get it. But the way you make money on a day-to-day basis is find small things that are highly repeated. And that's how you make your money, and that's what the Leprechaun will sell. People will want it. You embed it with energy of what you like. It doesn't matter if it's a necklace. This is my traditions piece. We now have a person making these. And now they're being sold. And now she's starting her business of being able to jewelry. She found her niche. And it's unique. So that's very important to find your unique. So there's ways of making it. You can just ask people for money. GoFundMe exists out there. It just says, I need money for this. And your friends might give it to you. People are willing to give you money when they know that their money has a purpose. And even if that premise is nothing more than a wish and a hope, that's enough. So giving money is not a practical gesture. It's never a practical gesture. Buying a refrigerator is a practical gesture. Buying a couch is a semi-practical sometimes. Sometimes you need it, sometimes you just want it. Buying groceries is a necessity. Buying luxury foods becomes that kind of pleasure. So you know what you can be compelled to buy certain things, right? But that's not what we're talking about. Almost every other thing you buy is emotional. Every time you take money out of your wallet, it tends to be emotional, and most people don't realize that. And that's what the spirits prey upon. You want a cup of coffee. Now, could it be a Dunkin' Donuts coffee or Starbucks coffee? What room are you walking into? What do you want them to see in your cup? You want to move it into your, right here. It's less about what your cup looks like. In fact, this is looked down upon, but what should I have? Oh, I should have my tumbler of reusable cup, and I actually do. That sort of thing. So then what do I do? I don't have one. I don't want to be out of status. I don't want to do that. I go out to one of these guys and buy myself a reusable cup. Now, is that practical? No, I probably have a dozen of them at home. Did I forget it? Oh yeah, I forgot it. But it's important to me to be in the same emotional state as everybody else around it. And as a salesman, I want to make sure that you fulfill that. So whatever project you have, it's got to be passionate. People will give you money for passionate projects. I'm creating the first really established Pagan World TV. I've also done this by a small subscription amount, lifetime members before 21 years ago to build Witch School. now largest of its kind, 300,000 members, graduated thousands of people, all those things. I did Pagan Tonight Radio, kind of the same thing, small tidbits, small cast. Today we have 6,000 hours of audio. It's been around for 13 years. So this idea of small amounts of money from people, especially from the internet, will give you your presentation. So at this point, now that you know that money is an emotional thing, wish, hopes of that, you can put out a jar. The old-fashioned beggar bowl would be there. Hey, you can do that. Oh, you're not interrupting at all. We're looking forward to your set.
Yeah, 3 o'clock. Why not?
Musicians live by Leprechaun rule. They're always hoping for some, there's some treasure at the end of it. And so then you go out there. So you can get money for nothing if you give a great story. And in fact, the only way to get money is to provide extreme usefulness or a good story. And car salesmen have combined both. They're constantly pitching you a great story about the car. They know eventually you're going to need a car. But do you need a $5,000 used car, a $10,000 used car, or the $75,000 Tesla? It's all based on the emotional investment. Right? And so what we live in is a world where the emotional story investment is important, attention is important. So at this point, I'm going to open it up. Do you guys have any passion dreams or anything that you'd love to do and raise money for? Go ahead. I
want to start my own business.
That's a terrific thing to do. I think they're great. Depending on how much start you've got, you can start doing that on. You can do that off your Facebook page. I don't know if you've done that.
We're wanting to do a candle, sell candles as well.
Okay.
She's been making soap.
So, you've been making soap? I'm telling you, there's a market there. Wow, I didn't tell you. There is
My son loves the oatmeal lavender one.
You need to figure out how to get them to buy the soap on a monthly basis.
It started as like a hobby just to kind of kill time because my family had a little vegetable stand and I was going to start selling it there. And that was a 2 years ago.
So to start with, just to get your first few dollars, you have to buy your product. You have to get enough money to buy your first product. And there's no way around that. And that's passing the jar. Go to your friends. I need $80. I need $100 for things. And take that jar, that donation jar, donate. You'll get it. They'll throw the coins in it. And once you get one person to do it, everybody else in the crowd will do it. Passing the hat. You've seen it. Right? So you get your friends together and say, I want to do soap. I need X number of dollars. I need more candle stuff. Pass that jar around. Yeah? And if you don't get it, pass it around. But then the next thing you need to do is go ahead and, make your soap. Make your candles. You can do it from Facebook. For free. You can just put it up there and say, I have this for sale. And make sure you have a way to receive money. Cash, PayPal, DMO. And then they will come up and they will say they will buy it or not. And you keep do it, repeat. My Mystic Gems is exclusively, she raises over $30,000 a year in her jewelry sales as a side hustle. And she does it exclusively off of Shopify. Shopify is $29.99, no other fees, cheapest maintenance, cheapest style store, really super easy to maintain, right? It'll cost you $30 a month, and you can list all your products there. And it has all sorts of ways to tie into the things. And then you use Facebook, you can use Twitter, TikTok if you're doing stuff on TikTok. Any of that. The more attention you can bring to yourself and show you the value of it, the more they will come. And you have to explain the value to them. Right? It's not enough that I make it out of all organic crap. Everybody's doing that. But the Leprechaun tells you, well, this gold coin was once owned by a king. And all of a sudden that coin changes, or this coin is lucky. You carry it all the time with you, then yay. Then that will change your luck. You've heard all these stories. Carrying a penny of your birthday is a lucky penny. Luck is one of the greatest skills pagans have. The world bends towards them. They're weighted to luck. And it is only our mind frame makes it bad luck or good luck. Because we notice it either way. And what are we going to emphasize? So I am talking about good luck. Putting out coins, donations, and things of that nature. Because I believe that we have a right to be abundant. You have a right to wealth. So you're right. And then when you go into it, you're seeing yourself not as being a burden to society or like, oh, why should anyone care or self-doubt. It's like, I have a valued service. And out of the 7 billion or almost 8 billion people in the world, at least some of them are going to like what I've got. And so I did. I mean, so if you ever think that you can't do something, my first time into really big business was school. I couldn't find a programmer. I couldn't find anyone to do it. I got people to laugh at me. I finally talked to my best friend writing the classes for his tradition, that sort of thing, and I finally got a programmer. And it took me almost a year and a half to do it on my own. I paid for everything. And today, within 24 hours, people started coming to it. Within 2 years, everybody's asking me, how do you do your school? The same people who laughed at me, now, how do we do this? So being on your own and being in the blue sea is a great place to be. It's very lonely. And blue sea means where there's nothing out on the horizon. So you just go there. So making candles, right? One of the best ways, shops right now, metaphysical shops are no longer making money from books. They're no longer making money from jewelry. Some are. It is soaps and tinctures, and more importantly, candles and having them pre-dressed. People are paying between 25 and megabucks to have candles dressed. Papa G here gets a good for that when he does it. So add that add-on service, which costs you your time and energy, but it doesn't really cost you anything else, increases your value. See what I'm saying? So there's a lot of movement from a cheap candle to a dressed candle. Then if it's a well-made candle and you explain how well you made it, take a video of yourself making these candles, show them how good your candle is, and then say, we can either send it to you undressed or dressed. Ooh, what is dressed? You kind of show them a demo dress, right? Now you've got a demo modeled over 3 people, over and over and over and over again. You can throw it on Pagan World Television. You can throw it on, that sort of thing. Throw it on your website, right? Now they've seen it, and because we're visual creatures, this is essential. They now know that they believe that is real. People are talking about Pagan World TV. What do you mean? I've been doing video for years, but people suddenly change their attitude towards this when I said I'm on Roku, right? So they need that visual demonstration, that pot of gold, that rainbow in the sky, to know that it's real. That's important. So you you make your candle, tell them how the candle is, show it to it. Sell dressed candles. I'm going to tell you, if you're going to sell candles, sell dressed candles. Sell the regular set, sell them as a kit, all the things you need for dressing and even dress. That's a way to increase your value. So you're always looking to increase your value from the base goods. Gold, your silver, to change it into your copper, your dust, and how to add value to it. And let them know who you are. Authenticity and who you are is the story that they want to hear. That's your real investment in the world. They want to know who you are. The younger you are, the more you want to know who your buyer is. And that's become very apparent in how people. I was just looking, trying to check the time. I realized what did I do with my phone? I left it over there. Oh well.
11:29.
Okay. I just want to make sure. Thank you. So, more specific, are you a Facebook person? Are you a text person? Do you like visuals? Huh?
I'm on there.
Are you an audio
I
person?
troll a lot. Not so much audio.
Video?
I could be. I can do audio. She does a lot of video stuff. She does a lot of TikTok. I do a lot.
So how much does it cost you to start a podcast? $0.
We've talked about doing a podcast.
Most effective, right now, the most effective medium platform right now in existence is podcasting. And what it is that people listen to, and now they're listening to cars. And when I started it, they'd go, I didn't tell them how to download stuff and how to put it on their computer. Now you just push a button and you can get it on your apps and all your things. I'm on Blog Talk Radio. And if you go with a company called Sprecher, right, they will give it to you for free. And if you're really good and attract commercials, they'll even pay you. Okay? So, building credibility through, say, audio. You can do a show called Candle and Soap. And you explain to people what candle and soap can do for you. And the magic behind it and everything else. And you do it you don't have to do it often, you have to do it consistently. If you have one podcast, that's terrific. And you keep sending people back to it, that's consistency. If you want to do it once a week, I think it's a heavy burden sometimes, right? But that's consistency. People will look for it each week. If you do it once a month, right? You do it that. That's consistency. As long as you're consistent in your message and you repeat it often, you do not have to stick to a schedule. You can do it as often or as little as you'd like. The more you do it, the more attention you get, the more you're going to give people the opportunity to make that emotional decision, to open their wallets, to open their accounts, to make that spend. Right? So if they know you on radio and you give them your very best, you don't give them your slop, you don't turn into a sales pitch. You go, hi, today's candle is purple. Today I'm going to talk to you about purple candles and all the different ways you can use purple candles. And you go through it, and then at the end of it, you can say, brought to you by who you are. You don't turn the podcast into the sales pitch. You just make a sales pitch at the end. And then every 5 or 6 things is, I own a shop. Let's talk about the shop. What do I do in the shop? And you don't even talk to them about, I'm selling stuff out of the shop. You go, I meet these type of customers. One of my customers asked me this. And I know, when I heard it, I know all of you want to hear it. Right? And that's free. And then you can say that's free. Now, people go, well, what if I don't get listened to? Right now, I'm talking to 5 people. Okay? Or I might be talking to hundreds later. Right? It grows. We started out, my first podcast, if you go back to them, had 30, 40, 50 people listening to it. My original radio show, my first night of my original radio show on terrestrial radio, paid $75 an hour for it. They judged maybe I had 800 people listening, and 600 of them were carryovers from the last show. Right? Today, every time I do a podcast, I get into the thousands. But I've been at it for a long time, and people are consistent. They know they're going to get something from that. And then every once in a while, I can do ask. So jab, jab, jab. Tell them, give them, and then you can jab occasionally with something like that. It's like you're doing the Candle and Soap show. Say you need a good black soap for Halloween. Everybody's been talking about this. We are carrying this black soap, and this is what our black soap looks like. And then you give them the whole lure of the black soap. It's called native advertising. And pagans really respond to it. They do not like the big flashy stuff. But they love hearing about their own community, their stories, and why they should be doing this stuff. So you got Sprecher as a podcast. You get a Shopify shop at $29.99. They're a month. Right? They don't charge you anything other than clearing credit cards, and they'll clear credit cards for you. They will do it and put it into your bank account. They're a full service system. And they do charge a little bit for the actual clearing credit card. They also have a PayPal account you can go through.
I have PayPal.
I mean, they go through all of this. I mean, so that's a Shopify. And then Shopify moves on. I'll give you my card, I'll give you more on it. That's a great way. For under $100, you can get on the internet with an advertising machine. And that's Leprechaun money. That's found money. That's audience. But you have to have a passion in the center. And you have to be willing to do one thing. You have to be able to do this. And if you can't do this, you can't go forward. You have to be willing to ask. Will you buy my thing? Will you help me? I need help. I can't do this alone. I think you've got something I need. Can you talk to me about it? And then you give value back in equal turn. But if you cannot ask for something, if you're one of these people, I do everything myself, nobody can help me, no one knows how to do it right, you cannot succeed. You cannot succeed. Because at the end of the time, people know you're independent. My biggest problem in my first 18 years of business, in the witch business, is everybody said, Ed can do it. Right? It became a real big thing. Ed can do it. Ed can do it. So they didn't step up and volunteer when they know that I was involved, because Ed can do it. Once you're known as an independent individual who can do almost anything, right, then it isn't until you really break down that people go, well, if I only knew. If I only knew that you needed help, and you could have articulated it, I could have helped. So if you can't ask for help, for the cash, for the sale, right, this is not possible. But you can always put out that jar and start collecting the money, because that in itself is a small ask. But you can't, if you can't ask, you can't go. It's a real simple thing. And so build up your thing, you know. I get 100 no's a day, but I learned to love my yeses. I don't care what people say no. And if they say no and they want to give you advice, you already told me you're not my customer. Collect only yeses. Collect only yeses. If they say no, take them at their word and move on. Do not try to be this sort of old-fashioned book selling when they say, oh, yeah, no is the... And sales is the same as it is with, sexual relationships. No means no. And you shouldn't, and you're being taught, even in the culture of sales, no means maybe. Keep coming at them, keep coming at them, keep coming at them, right? And maybe they'll eventually break down. We don't have to do that. We have now 4 million people who are claiming to be pagan and reachable on the internet at some level. The book sales are supporting them, and you know the market is shattered beyond belief. There are thousands of suppliers. There's no one big supplier except for Amazon.com and Dollar General. What are the number 1 and 2 shops for pagans in the world? Amazon.com and Dollar General, or equivalent dollar stores. They buy their candles from the dollar stores, they buy their incense from the dollar stores where they can't afford it, or they're going to Amazon. Those are the 1 and 2 sales. Those are your real competition in candles and soaps and incense and all of it. Those are your real everyday your competitors. So all you have to do is move them from there to you, right? Because they want to. You can say, sorry, you're spending with your community. People really want to. You have to make it possible for them to do that. So the last thing you need to do for Leprechaun funding is you have to create an attractive kettle, an attractive pot. Something that they can put their money into and get something out. A very fancy jar. They have skull glasses for donations here. Look, if you look at the table, they have skull glasses. Put money in. And you'll see money will get stuffed in there, and dollar bills will get stuffed in there. I'll bet you'll see a 5 or a 10 or a 20 in there. It's very attractive. People like it. It's a little exotic. Huh? What's that?
It's shiny.
It's shiny. So my last story is the book of the worst book publisher ever. He is the worst book publisher ever. His name Brendan Tripp, Etched on Books. Right? I have most of his books still in a locker somewhere. They're becoming more and more valuable because they're really rare books. He decided he could sell 200 books if he could sell 200 books per state, he'd make a fortune. He'd do great. And he did really quality books. Well, most people don't realize most booksellers do not sell them in 1,000 copies. The average copy for booksellers is like 125 books. It's really true. Most of the time, books fail. 9 out of 10 books fail to reach their first sellout. That's why everybody's so happy when a book sells out. Llewellyn will not publish more than 2,000 books unless you're a known author with a known audience. And if you sell out, I've been on there. We're getting ourselves off. And book selling is zero publishing. We're going through Amazon now, where you become our own publisher. Zero manufacturing costs. That's another thing that you can do. And so he's there, and he was going to festivals, and people were not buying his books. They were quality books. And everybody said, how many times have you heard of it? I wish we had advanced books. You hear it all the time. I wish we had more advanced. And he did. He put out in there programming, high-end in that. He put out Candle Magics. He put out a bunch of Spellcraft. He put out a bunch of books, really quality books. decent covers, nobody would buy them. So he learned something very weird. So he just said, everybody wants rhinestones on their books. You might as well put rhinestones on their books. Right? They want the shiny stuff. Right? Okay, cool. And here's what the mistake he made. So he goes home moping about nobody wants to buy his books because they are always wanting the shiny things. What was his biggest mistake in that one? I told him over and over again. He went out of business. If they want rhinestones on the books, put rhinestones on the books. Right? The answer was right there in front of him. If you want to have your books sold, put rhinestones on them if they're buying rhinestones. And he failed because he wouldn't bring himself down to where his market was. He decided his market was way up here, and I own maybe 60 cases of his books, including Phil Farber's first book, Futurecraft, now worth $75 a piece. He's finally putting them back out. I have neurolinguistic programming books. I have a spellcraft book from the 90s, because books don't rot. He couldn't store them anymore because it cost him $150 a month. He could not sell them because he wouldn't go where the community was. And he went out printing. Best books, some of the best books, Spell of Making was one of his. If you see them, they're going like $500 now. You know, because it was such a rare book. It was put out one time. So he had the right idea, but he didn't carry it out because he was unwilling to put the rhinestones on the book. Worst publisher. So if you're not willing to make it attractive, you're not willing to listen to your customers, you're not willing to listen to what they want, they don't know what they want. You know, Jobs said it with the phone. We didn't know we needed iTunes until we had it, and then we couldn't get away from it. We didn't know we needed cell phones. Right? We didn't know we needed cell phones until we got it. You know, Ford said that, if we asked him what he needed, we would need a faster horse that shit less. Right? So we would have told them. They didn't know we needed cars. So even if you don't know if the product's needed, if you believe the product's needed, all you have to do is convince your customer to try it and use it. And if it really is useful, and for me that was Witchable. Witchable was really useful to people because so many people couldn't take their classes, they couldn't take their courses, they couldn't be in person. We had paraplegics, we had older people, people with children. We were able to provide for a pain point. We may have been shiny enough to attract them, but then when they saw us, we had enough substance to keep them going through the process. And today we have over 4,000 legal clergy in the world. There's over 100 groups that came out of that system. So a lot of them have legal standing, I mean real legal standing. They were able to do so because we believed at one moment that a few dollars, we could manage to save on a few dollars a month. As long as we had a lot of people willing to buy it. And today that's still true. And so for you, decide what your pot's going to be, what is the passion of your value of what you're giving out, and what are you willing to exchange. And today, if you're willing to change your story, willing to work on the internet or in person, and tell them what you want, right? And what you need, they will give it to you. You just have to be willing to do that. And then if you have quality, the only thing that makes a difference here is talent. And that's the one thing that you either have it or you don't. You can earn it, you can create it. Believe me, I stuttered on my first. I'm famous. To this day, there's a drinking game named after me called Edisms. When I go on the radio, people still talk about the drinking game. I was so bad at pronouncing words and stuttering and messing up people's names. They made a whole drinking contest out of it. And you would think that should deter me, but no. You just keep going. So you can learn to deliver your story better and better. So at the end of the day, remember, you feed the leprechauns, occasionally when they come, but set up your treasure, your box where you want them to give you, and it can literally offer nothing but a hope and a dream. It could be a song, it could be anything. And then find ways to create it, and then when you find ways to create it, find ways to share it. And today, sharing has never been easier. And it's never going to be cheaper than now. This is going to change. Spotify letting people go on for free. Spearhacker going on for free. This is going to change just like websites change. We used to give them away. It's going to change. And you've got a couple of years to really kind of raise your money and get yourself into the game. At this rate. And then it'll change again. But today, you've got a really good opportunity. So for me, my Leprechaun Funny, come over, take a look at Pagan World. You can see if you like it, and see where it's at, and that's where I'm moving this idea next. Any questions?
No.
Any hopes?
I hope my plan works.
And that's what it is. I don't have my cards on. I am not moving on all cylinders today.
More coffee.
I'm drinking so much coffee. I'm a coffee.
Okay, no more coffee. I don't know what to tell you then.
I'm actually the people are asking me. So give you an idea of that idea. I'm at the table. You'll see me. You'll see the table. I'll give you guys
Right
the.
over there.
Yeah. But one of the things I'm known worldwide is I am the coffee pusher. I actually push coffee on people. Yes.
I'm the beer goddess, and I push booze on people.
That's a fair thing to do.
I push sleep.
They see you at night and then they see him in the morning.
That a
That's
baby.
it. Absolutely.
Hey, we could
I'm
move the
about-
market, man.
I have like a business right there.
We could corner the market. Look at that.
All right, well, thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I hope that was helpful, or at least
It was.
marginally interesting.